Hello everybody and welcome back, Captain Nosh here, and today we are going to be looking at the VK3001H, which is a tier 5 German medium tank. I think I haven't made this public yet, but as we have completed grinding towards the Object 705A, I decided it was time to grind for a new line. And this time I decided that I'll be going for a medium tank line, and in the end I decided that I would be going down to the Leopard 1, which is a tier 10 German medium tank. So to do that I have to play the German medium tank line, and right now I'm actually at the tier 6. I am about to unlock the tier 7, and I just started grinding the tier 6 yesterday during the Christmas Eve stream. So today I decided that before I forget, I will be making a review on the tier 5, and in my opinion the tier 5, it's a very awkward tank at best. It's very awkward because this thing is classified as a medium tank, but really it plays more like a heavy tank. Really, it plays more like a heavy tank, but the only reason why this thing cannot really be considered a heavy tank is the armor. I mean, the armor isn't really terrible. It's 50mm all around in the hull, 80 in the front of the turret, and 60 everywhere else in the turret. But considering how flat the armor is, you're not really going to be bouncing much unless you're able to side scrape. But then again, people who know your weak spot would just shoot you in the front or in the turret cheeks. The gun mantlet can actually bounce shots and eat up shells, but really if people know where to shoot, they can just shoot you in the weak spots. Although one thing that is really good about this tank is the gun. This tank gets a 7.5/5.5 centimeters Waffe 0725 gun, which used to be known as the conish gun, which World of Tanks players back then simply called the cone gun because the gun really looks like a cone. It's a very easy way to remember what gun this is, so people would just call this the cone gun. And this gun at tier 5 is very broken and overpowered. First thing first, this thing gets 157mm of penetration with its base AP rounds, and it gets about 221mm on its premium APCR rounds. 157mm at tier 5, that is really good. In fact, I can't think of another tier 5 tank which has 157mm of penetration or more. It's really, it's just a few tanks have that. And the VK3001H is one of those few tanks which can be, I think, can be counted using just one hand. It's not really a lot in the game at tier 5. It does 135 average damage, which is, it's okay-ish. It's better than the T1 Heavy's 115, but it's clearly not as spectacular as the KV1's 160 alpha damage. Now this thing has a rate of fire of 14.22 rounds per minute, which gives it a reload speed of about 4.22 seconds on my current loadout. That is without Brothers in Arms, of course, and it's not really 100% crew yet. And other than that, this thing gets -8 gun depression, so compared to the Russian tanks which we have reviewed, this thing can actually shoot down on ridges. It can play on ridge lines, which is really good because it really gives you a lot more flexibility. Now, this thing has an aiming time of 2.34 seconds, which is not that bad. It's really not that bad. I mean, this thing reloads 4.22 seconds. You have more than enough time to aim your shots fully and actually hit the target. And you will be hitting the target because you have a dispersion of 0.32, which makes it one of the most accurate gun at tier 5. Given the rate of fire and the reload speed, this thing gets average a DPM of 1920 damage, which is actually quite good at tier 5. So yeah, looking at the survivability, this thing gets 700 hit points, which is actually really healthy for a tier 5 medium. The M4A1 Sherman gets 630, if I'm not wrong, and the Panzer IV H gets just a little bit more. than the M4A1 Sherman. So this is a very healthy tier 5 medium. The keyword here is it's a medium tank, it's not a heavy tank, so it actually gets really good hit points. We've talked about the armor. It's not really the best, but if you can make it work, you can side scrape. This tank can actually bounce off shells, and the tracks can also help to eat up some damage. Now, the reason why I say this thing is very awkward to place because while it is a medium tank, it doesn't really have the mobility. Now, in the garage, it will say that it has, it might seem like it has really good mobility, but once you play it, it plays more like a heavy tank. It doesn't really accelerate that fast, it doesn't turn that fast, it doesn't reverse that fast as well. As you can see, it only has 15 kilometers per hour reverse speed, which is, not the best, but, for a tank this size, it really plays out more like a heavy tank than a medium tank. And, a specific power of 10.76 and 400 horsepower. Yeah, this tank won't be going anywhere far. This tank cannot really play like a medium tank. You're not going to be the kind of tank who can quickly flank around people, because you'd probably be caught out before you can even do a flanking maneuver. So this tank is really the real selling point for this tank is really just the gun. Everything else about the tank is just decent, but it's really the gun which gives it the unique playstyle that you can do on this tank, because other tanks, there are just some things which you can't do. For example, the VK3001H is more than capable of fighting tier 7s just because you have that really good penetration values. And furthermore, this even the base armor piercing rounds, the base AP rounds, gets 1170 meters per second shell velocity. That is insane. That means your shell can actually, fly through the space and everything and hit your enemy really quickly, which allows you to be a little bit of a snapshot tank. Considering that you have 0.32 dispersion, you can actually snapshot on people, which is really good, because if your tank is this big, you really want to reduce your exposure to enemy tanks, because let's face it, you're basically a piñata, especially in the tier 7 battle. So that is enough rambling in the garage. I think I should give you all one replay so that you all can see how this tank plays out in the battlefield. So let's go to that replay. Okay, so here we are in the replay. We are in Wide Park, and as you can see, this is actually my first battle on the VK3001H. So I'm not really running the tank optimally at this point yet. But as you can see, we are bottom tier. This is a tier 6 battle. And, being the first battle on this tank, I was actually unsure on how to play this tank. I've never really played this tank for such a long time. So I decided to go to a very common position here. First thing first, I'm going to be trying to do something in this ridgeline. But as you can see, a T-52 manages to cross over the ridgeline here. So I start paying attention to him. The first shot doesn't hit, and unfortunately we don't get to farm on that T-52. Now, something you can notice here is that, for a medium tank, it is very sluggish. Now, fair point, this was my very first battle on the VK3001H, and I wasn't really playing this with 100% crew, but you can really see how the mobility is not really medium tank level. So right now over here, I am using the gun, the very good gun on this VK3001H to start eating up this T150. This anyone T150 who is stock. As you can see, I have no problems penetrating his frontal hull armor, and this T1 Heavy plays really badly here. So I decided to move away because I'm not really gonna be able to have any shots on the T150 with this T1 Heavy playing like a total muppet. So I missed that shot there. That was unfortunate. We could have taken him out, but I am getting spotting damage, I'm getting assistance damage, so that was all fine for me here. So really, once again, I'm trying to contest up this ridge line. We do have the -8 gun depression, but something about Wide Park is that if you're on this, the ridge lines on Wide Park, unless you're at the T150's location, it's actually very steep. So regardless of how good your gun depression values are, it's really hard to find a nice angle where you can shoot down on your enemies, yet not be exposing a lot of your tank to the enemies. So the Shafi here is trying to find shots on our tanks here. I'm trying to also find shots on him, but you know, there's this archway is really blocking my way. Now we see the Jackson here, and I start shooting at the Jackson. The Jackson shoots at me actually, but I think he was trying to aim for this T1 Heavy, so I decided to go in front of the T1 Heavy again, because clearly I don't really want to trade HP with the Jackson. You know, I'm gonna lose in such a trade because the Jackson just has a much more bigger caliber gun. Now I shoot the SU-100, who is showing his side armor there. He seems to be completely obnoxious. You know, he doesn't really see that we're here. This T1 Heavy is telling me to basically get out of his way, but to be honest, I didn't really care. You know, between me and the T1 Heavy, I'm in a better position to actually kill the SU-100, and as you can see, our T1 Heavy pays the price for being a little bit too aggressive there. You know, he could have taken cover, but nah, he was very, very confident that he could, I don't know, kill the SU-100 or something. So over here, I'm trying to snapshot on that KV-1, but then again, I don't really want to trade any more HP. As you can see, even in a tier 6 battle, if you have even with 700 hit points, it can be easily whittled down. And now I'm just left with 371. You know, that is basically, you know, I can be killed with an SU-100 shot, or I can be killed by both the KV-1 and Jackson together if they manage to find a shot on me. So once again, I'm trying to find angles here, angles where I'm not exposing my tank, because this tank is really, really big. There are times where you think you're not exposing any part of your tank, but, you know, because of the size, you know, you really don't know. You could be exposing a sizable portion of weak spot to the enemy team here. The KV-1 tries to shoot me here. I missed the shot somehow. I'm not really sure where that shell went, but I wasn't really going to I didn't want the KV-1 to hit me there, because getting hit for 160 damage is the last thing I want. So once again, I'm trying to find shots on that SU-100 and Jackson, but the Jackson is always looking at me, and now the SU-100 is paying attention at me as well. So I'm stuck in this corner, really can't do much. And my team isn't really helping. They're still mostly sitting back at the A and B line. I mean, to be honest, there really isn't much you can do in this map. It's really more of a, you know, the map which, you know, the team with more aggressive players in this map normally have the higher chance of losing as well. So over here, I'm using my gun handling to outplay this M10 RBFM. Now, the M10 RBFM is one of the most deadliest rate of fires at tier 5. So I didn't want these M10 to have shots on me. So I was constantly going backwards and forwards so that, you know, he can't find a shot on me. But lucky us, he was much more interested in killing our T-34. So, nearly 6 minutes have passed, and the team score is still 8-6. You know, we can still easily lose this if we play badly. And now my team has decided to push on the eastern flank, and now this SU-100 is also being a little bit aggressive here. He's trying to find shots on our team. I tried to climb up this ridgeline to see whether anyone is here, and I really see nobody. So I was becoming very, very confident here. And judging that nobody is shooting me, I was now thinking whether I should push forward or should I stay back. At this point, I decided that I'll push. So I go after this Jackson, which has to be killed as soon as possible. The T-150 hits me with a derp gun. I was actually very lucky that he didn't penetrate. That was very awkward. The T-150 strikes 8 the damage, but I was able to reload fast enough to kill the T-150. Now I go after the M44, who was somehow here. I don't know how he got here without being spotted. And I take the tracking shot so that I can get the assistance damage once more. And finally, we're now left with just a single enemy tank, the T-34-85. So with with our M10 friend and the M4 A1 FL10, we start pushing towards the enemy base. The T-34-85 is actively hunting down our Hummel, who has managed to go all the way to this side. The T-34-85 has really good driving skill there. He runs into the rubble, and he gives us a tracking shot, and we win this battle. So this battle, I don't know, this was the first battle, and I think it was a good battle for this. So here is the post-game stats for that battle in White Park. As you can see, it was an ace tanker battle gameplay. We had fire for effect because we did more damage than our hit points. We have, I'm not really sure what these badges are. And high caliber. I think really the high caliber medal is a good thing because the high caliber gun means you actually did the most amount of damage in both your team and the enemy team. So as you can see, for our first battle, we actually earned 108,000 credits, although I do think that is probably from the missions and the credit booster, which we'll see later on. 3,388 base experience, albeit with a premium account, which is really good as well, and it was a ×2, so I mean that was, you know, that is actually very heavily inflated. And we did do 2,274 raw damage by ourselves, and we did have 679 assistance damage, giving us a combined damage of 2,909. And we did complete first in experience and of course damage, since we did get the high caliber medal there. Team wise, we basically had a really good game here. The Jackson in the enemy team also had a good game, but remember, he is a tier 6 with a bigger 90mm gun which can do 200 damage per shot. You know, it really takes him less shells to do the same amount of damage as me. But as you know, really, the whole game, it was really just me and the Jackson who had a really good game. In fact, I did twice as much as the second guy on my team in terms of damage, which is really crazy. And finally, looking at the breakdown, we did get 49,000 credits with a premium account. With a standard account, that'll be 32,000 credits, which is actually really good already at tier 5. And since we do have the holiday ops on, we also got some booster there. I think at this point I had a 31.5% booster, so that was 15,000 credits. And I also got an extra 50,000 credits for completing missions, which was, I think, the earned 350 base experience in a battle mission down there. And in the end, after all of the resupplies, you can see it just cost us 4,800 credits to resupply this tank. It's very cheap. And it was a base experience of 1,129, although because I was on premium account, it has been bumped up to 1,694. And yes, it was really my first battle, which is really fun. I was actually surprised I was able to play well in this tank from the first battle because I wasn't really sure what to expect. I've played it before, but that was, I think, 3-4 years ago when the tank was very different. I think back then the tank was still a heavy tank before Wargaming reclassified it as a medium tank for, you know, God knows what reason. But yeah, the VK3001H, acing it in one battle, I mean, I was really happy. It was, I think I played this late at night as well, if I'm not wrong. No, I played it in the afternoon. I thought I played it at night. I really felt like I played it at night. But anyway, the VK3001H, really fun tank, which can be very reliable if you need to earn credits. So in that replay, we see how the VK3001H is really a master of gun handling. But really, as a medium tank, this tank really lacks a lot in what a medium tank should be, which is flexible maneuver, something that can be maneuvered very easily, and something that isn't a big target. And really, the VK3001H doesn't fit any of those criteria to be a really effective medium tank. But to be honest, really, the main selling point is the gun. The gun is really, you know, a pleasure, and really, you know, when I play this tank, I always look forward to shooting other tanks with this tank because it's really just so satisfying when you're shooting with this gun. It almost feels like as though you are a tier 6 in a tier 5 battle, which is really what it is. This gun, the Konish gun, is really a tier 6 gun, but for some reason Wargaming thought that, you know, this gun can be in tier 5, and really, this gun with its shell velocity is just one of the most broken, in my opinion, at tier 5, albeit it is balanced by the fact that this tank is not really that flexible. So, you know, this tank isn't going to be bombing around the maps and, shooting people left, right, and center, snapshotting even. So, really, do I recommend this tank? I highly recommend this tank. I think it's a good tank for new players. The gun is very, very forgiving, especially once you have unlocked the gun. I did cheat a little bit and I did use free experience to skip the stock grind, which, in my opinion, I think is going to be very, very painful. But in the end, once you get this top gun and once you fully research all of the modules in this tank, I really feel that this tank is one of those keepers tank. It's one of those tanks that can really help you earn credits because, the shells on this thing isn't really that expensive, and this is a consistent damage dealer in my opinion. It's not really a very clunky KV1, but neither is it, a very fast medium that has, subpar penetration, like let's say the M4A1 with its 76mm gun. So that is the VK3001H review. This is really a very fun tank to play. In fact, it's so fun that I actually lost track of time and I managed to complete grinding this tank in about a day or two, and I was able to actually get the first mark of excellence as well. In fact, I will be posting the video where I got the first mark of excellence because it really showcased how effective the gun can be even against tier 6s. And yeah, that's the VK3001H. I hope you all enjoyed this review. And before I forget, I do have a Discord server. The Discord link invite can be found below in the description box. Don't forget to like the video, really helps out. Leave a comment. I'm really open to any sort of suggestion, or whether you want to leave a comment or you want to just to talk to me or something. The comment section is always open. And last but not least, please don't caress the subscribe button. Smack it hard. It's free. It doesn't cost an arm and leg, doesn't break the bank. It really helps out. When you subscribe, it really tells me that you enjoy my content, and it really gives me more motivation to make more of these videos, which can be a little bit time consuming because let's face it, World of Tanks replay files are really, really annoying to work with. So anywho, thanks for watching and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.